If you ever played Sea of Thieves and thought to yourself, man, this game would be so much better if it had dinosaurs in it, then I have something to show you. Welcome to Tides of Fortune, the latest DLC added to ARK Survival Ascended and your gateway to do all the things you wish Sea of Thieves did years ago. At least that those things include survival crafting mechanics. But can a DLC truly compare to games that are fully built around the idea of a pirate fantasy? That's what Brandon and I are here to find out today. Are you serious? I killed milliseconds into spawning. This is supposed to be the easy biome. And this is your introduction to this game if you have never played it before. But after getting a slightly more forgiving spawn, I get to meet up with Brandon, create a tribe, and get to farming. What, you thought we were gonna start off with a free boat right from the get-go a la Sea of Thieves? No sir, there are a lot of trees to be chopped and levels to be grinded before we even get access to any of that. But don't worry, we absolutely cranked the settings for this video just to make sure we don't spend our entire session working towards that one goal. Speaking of goals, no boat can be built without a place to call home. Genesis Part 1, which is the map we are playing on right now, features an absolutely massive ocean biome, but since we're gonna be stuck on this island for the foreseeable future, it only made sense to get a lay of the land. And trust me, the game was gonna make sure that we do not leave our island until that boat was built. Oh, what the? Do you see that? Do you see that fin over there?
There's a fin?
Yeah, look, come over here.
I'm coming. It looks like a friend.
That's not friend-shaped.
If not friend, then why friend-shaped?
But it's not friend-shaped, that's my point.
It's friend-shaped.
Yeah, something tells me that this Megalodon is not gonna be our first tame, and neither is that Ceratosaurus. Luckily for us, our spawn island seemed to house all the materials we needed for a good start to our pirate careers, as long as we could avoid the wildlife until we crafted some weapons. Oh, wait. I heard, like, snarling of some kind.
Oh, I see something.
It's a dodo.
It's a dodic.
Oh, I knew I heard snarling! I knew I heard snarling!
That is not a dodic!
But even then, we better choose our fights carefully. No, I don't want to bore you too much with a mundane survival grind of ARK. I mean, what is this, my survival game channel? So fast forwarding to the first piratey thing we found during our playthrough, we came across a message in a bottle. And where there's bottled messages, there usually is treasure. Unfortunately, the dig spot was very far from us, so we'd have to put that on the back burner until the day we acquire a vessel. But you probably know us by now, we are very impatient individuals. So rather than accepting that we are stranded here for days on end, we decided to build a raft. Not as prestigious as the mighty brigantine we had set our eyes on, but for now, this should do. Now for those of you who have played games like Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, or even Windrose, know that no pirate game is complete without a good shanty. And whilst ARK does not provide that as part of the vanilla experience, thankfully I had an alternative means of creating that same vibe.
What do we do with the drunken sailor? What do we do with the drunken sailor? What do we do with the drunken sailor lying up? There's megalodons making fun of us.
Not so sure about that thing there, though. Oh boy. Why is everything terrifying?
Bro, that thing had some crazy teeth. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. Oh god, there's more of the creepy fish, more of the creepy fish, more of the creepy fish.
Oh god, yeah, it wants us.
Why are there so many of them, dude? There's some, like, birds on the wall.
You love a good water bird.
Oh, what the whoa.
What the,
okay, that's not fair. That's not fair. I literally cannot move. I cannot move.
That's...
Oh my god. Okay, that's genuinely just not fair. Now, for a second there, I was under the illusion that if we can manage to avoid the murderous turtles, that maybe we can raft our way to a neighboring island. That's until a giant red glowing octopus invited itself onto my raft, and was only by the grace of God himself that it eventually let go of my humble vessel. Yeah, there was actually no conceivable way we could safely traverse this map without a proper ship, so taking the L, I decided to return to our base with nothing but a handful of oil to my name. Exploring our own island really was the only choice for the time being, so that is exactly what we did. We stumbled across some crystal, which was great because we could finally make some spyglasses, and I mean, what's a pirate without a spyglass? Using that, we also spotted an ominous looking lighthouse not too far away from our home, definitely making for a great first destination once we are able to set sail. Other than that, it was all the classic creature hunting you'd expect from ARK, with exactly the amount of success you would expect us to have. But eventually, we got the resources together to craft a shipyard, which would in turn allow us to build our first ship, assuming we find a space to actually place it down. Yeah, so apparently that shipyard is freaking massive, which I guess makes sense because it's a thing you use to build ships, and those are not exactly known to be small. It took a lot of fiddling around to finally find a spot where the game would allow me to place it, just for Brandon to mention that we would not be able to move the boat out of the shipyard with it facing the mountain, but I mean, small technicality if you ask me. Anyway, I placed it down properly this time, using a raft to get access to different placement angles than what was available to me walking on land. I need to put this into perspective for you guys. This shipyard is so massive that we decided to actually live in it. This will be our stationary base for the foreseeable future because it holds so much space that we can put anything we need to progress right on top of it. And another day of grinding later, it was finally time to set sail.
Damn.
Oh my god, it's like actually hanging up here. Oh my god.
That's sick, dude.
Yo, you got like a built-in compass and everything?
Can we use these cannons? I'm walking through the cannons.
Wait, what? Oh yeah, true. I'm also walking through the cannons.
Well, we got like a whole downstairs basement too.
Oh wait, we do? Hold up.
Yeah, go through the into the captain's quarters area and then.
Oh shoot! I'm assuming you can build in here then.
I would assume so.
Oh, this is so cool. And truthfully, Sea of Thieves has really ruined my perception of what a sloop should be because the scale of this thing is more akin to what I know to be a brigantine. And the fact that we can fully customize this using the entire building system that ARK has to offer is absolutely insane. Now, if you have watched our Island series on the Survival channel, you might remember that our gang is absolutely obsessed with the idea of living on vehicles. So naturally, we got to work turning this thing into what essentially amounts to a mobile base. But not until we had our maiden voyage. And gamers, we were truly amazed with what Studio Wildcard has achieved. I don't know how to stop the ship, so please don't fall off.
I mean, so far, I'm alright.
Bellsprit main.
One thing that's cool is jumping on this isn't broken.
Oh, wait, you're right! Oh my god, we can like jump.
They made a real game.
Also, dude, the waves, I just realized, we're like bobbing left, right?
Yeah.
There's like water physics now.
Why is this so good?
I shouldn't be that amazed by like...
In this game, everything is amazing if it works. First time.
True. Can you tell that our expectations were at the absolute bottom of the ocean going into this DLC? Speaking of expectations, I'm not sure why we were expecting to be able to take on this mission, because as it turned out, that ominous lighthouse was a marker for one of this map's naval missions. We had to destroy a whole bunch of fortifications while fending off an armada of AI vessels, and as you can see, the developers have opted for an Assassin's Creed style of naval warfare, which is very cool for the one steering the ship, but Brandon could do literally nothing to help as I tried to make sure we don't immediately lose our only ship. And when said ship went down to half of its HP, I decided to return to home base, where a whole-ass dinosaur tried to fall onto our boat. It was very apparent that we were not ready to even take on the easiest lighthouse mission available, so we decided to focus on other aspects of piracy for now, like actually building that mobile base I promised we would. We also had a whole-ass side quest to tame this moss chops, which was surprisingly difficult for a tame that is not supposed to be difficult to get.
Jesus Christ,
God.
dude.
Bro got packed up by the birds. Yeah, just don't ask how these two things correlate. By the way, drop a like if you want to see more survival content on the second channel. Anyway, after doing a whole bunch of survival grinding stuff, we successfully crafted each of us a set of armor, together with a prerequisite amount of drip, and I even made us the brand new blunderbuss. New to ARK, anyway. Don't worry about it, it's gonna get even more Sea of Thieves. Check this shit out.
What you got, brother? Oh, that's sick.
Gotta find something to shoot.
Hell yeah. That
reload.
That took ages.
So extra.
Should we go kill that thing that was down the beach?
Yeah, sure. Oh, it's right here. It's up the beach now. It's no longer down the beach.
It's now in the water. Oh, something pushed me into the water. I can't even see it, bro. It's so dark.
Yeah, it barely deals any damage, by the way. Ow.
It's up the beach now.
Oh, it has pushback.
Ow. Ow.
Yeah.
I can't see anything, bro. It's literally, my screen is dark. Like,
it is very dark, yeah. Don't worry, I'm a real pirate. Come on. Oh, please.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Whew. I'm on 26 HP. Jesus Christ. So, much like in Sea of Thieves, it appears that the blunderbuss is an anti-boarding weapon, and the sword is the true king of WM1ing your way to victory in PvE. But now that our weapons were thoroughly tested, we spent the next couple of days farming more resources to continue turning our humble sloop into the mighty floating base that it deserved to be. And what feels more piratey than putting a whole-ass fabricator into the bottom of your ship? The Gilded Horizon was now ready to head out to sea once more, and we were very keen on exploring the vast ocean of the Genesis simulation. Oh, did I not mention mention that we are in a simulation? Come on, guys, how else would we have pirates and dinosaurs in the same video game? Speaking of simulation, I also finally remembered that I can literally just turn off the fog to create an acceptable level of visibility, because for some reason, developers of pirate-themed video games just hate when their players are able to see further than 10 feet in front of them. Now that's something I wish we had in Sea of Thieves, but we have finally arrived at my favorite part of these kinds of games. Exploration. And boy does Wildcard know how to tickle all the right parts of my tism when it comes to that, because exploring these islands is such an absolute treat. We found ourselves a high-level moss chops, which unlike the other one we found at home, was not a picky eater, so we decided to pick her up on the way. But that was already it when it came to friendly faces, because there was a ravenous mega raptor roaming this island, which was absolutely not taking prisoners, and I think you can guess who was next on the menu. I will get revenge or die fighting. I will definitely die fighting. Stop. I can't even be mad. Clearly, this island was a bit too ravenous for our stage of progression, so the two of us decided to harvest a few resources to fill our hull before heading back out to find a more hospitable spit of land. And we did stumble upon one such island. Obviously, we had no idea what awaited us. For all we knew, it could have been worse than a Mega Raptor, but that constant sense of danger is exactly what made this exciting, which made it ever the more underwhelming when we came across basically nothing. Yeah, the entire island was just kind of asleep, and we had not spotted a single hostile entity anywhere, but there is something else that was worth getting excited about. There's something that looks like sulfur, but... Oh my god, that's sulfur! We found sulfur!
What the hell are these?
Oh, what is this? Oh my, that's new. Oh, tide pubs! How do I tame you guys?
Yeah, I saw those.
I don't know what a tide pub is, but I kind of want one.
Same, just because it looks cool.
And this, my friends, is how we stumbled upon the absolute worst distraction of our session. But I gotta get this out of my system first. One thing I really hate about modern ARK is that you can never look at a creature and know how to tame it. I swear to god, for about 90% of new dinos introduced to this game, you need a flipping manual or YouTube tutorial just to understand how to begin the process. There's nothing in the game itself that makes it obvious how to start, and that is really annoying. But that hurdle was not gonna stop Brandon, for he has a severe case of ADHD and decided that this will now be his hyperfixation for the next couple of hours. Turns out, the Tide Pup is a healer, so by delivering a friendly creature in need of healing, we will be able to tire it out and feed it whilst it is resting. Do that enough times and boom, you officially bribed your way into a new friend. A process that took a disgustingly long time. So long, in fact, that the island eventually woke up and we now had to navigate a jungle filled with predators and a pond inhabited by creatures that have absolutely no right to be as high level as they are. But eventually, the first one was ours. Yeah, the first one. Because Brandon really wanted to have a breeding pair until about an hour later, where he accidentally hit our moss chops one too many times, killing our only way of bribing these creatures. Yeah, I just made the executive decision to leave after that incident. We spent the next little while exploring a variety of different islands, picking up more treasure maps, collecting resources, and upgrading our ship until we realized, wait, we should probably dig up the treasure from those maps, shouldn't we? That's piratey. That's what we came here to do. Want to take a look around first, or...
The treasure is like right here.
Oh, sweet, okay.
But what is that to our left?
To our left?
A two-legged dino.
T-Rex, level 20.
Bug? T-Rex Island?
Apparently, yeah. You might want to...
Ships can go backwards, right?
Yeah, they can. What? You're not gonna believe where we are right now.
Where are we?
You're not gonna believe where we are right now.
Are we oh my god. That's funny, bro.
I saw Foundation, I was like, wait, it's like...
This looks familiar.
You have a map for this place?
Yeah, bro. It's literally right here. Hold on.
It's like right next to where a house used to be, too.
Show me what you...
Oh! Ooh. Okay. So ignoring the fact that we accidentally explored our way back to our home island, turns out that these treasure maps can give you really good items. But one thing they didn't give us were upgrades for our sloop. We figured that the only way to make our ship more powerful was to complete one of the missions, like the one that we failed during our maiden voyage. So the logical conclusion was to go back to the lighthouse and try again. Though after the catastrophe that was my previous attempt, it was now Brandon's turn to captain our vessel in hopes of a better result. And gamers, this whole thing feels very different when you are not the one in the driver's seats. Whoa, Jesus. I did not realize that this was so scary from the passenger's POV.
Yep.
Oh my god. I can't really access anything down here while we're in the mission. Oh god. Oh, shoot. Incoming.
Fighting a brig.
Oh, that's messed up. Oh, but oh my god. We're taking damage, Captain.
We alright.
I believe in you. Dude, this is like 18 times scarier as a passenger. Holy crap.
Yeah. We're dead.
Holy crap. All right, 2 more boats over there. Oh, the 3v1.
Oh, I got off the...
Oh, the 4v1. Where are all these boats coming from? And the island is shooting at us? Brandon was definitely doing a much better job than I was. He successfully sank more vessels and he put more pressure on the island itself, but nothing we did really felt like it was making enough of a dent for us to come out on top. Every tower that was shooting at us took multiple hits to take down and was really difficult to avoid getting slammed ourselves with what felt like borderline aimbot being pointed at us. Not to mention that there's no way to repair our boat mid-battle. The other ships were a bit easier to dodge, but the sheer number of them was enough to pressure us out of any favorable position we could possibly get ourselves into. I really wanted us taking down that outpost to be the finale to this video, but even after multiple attempts, we just could not make it happen. Which leads me to my final conclusion. Is this DLC worth buying? Heck, is it worth getting the base game of ASA to then buy this DLC on top to experience this? Brandon and I actually did a lot more than I had time to put into this video. We explored a lot of islands, and we also had a lot of fun with our time on this map, but there are some really big reasons that stop me from recommending you go out and buy this. For one, the decision to only allow the captain of the ship to participate in naval combat is absolutely puzzling to me. I don't understand why games like Windrose and now ASA with Tides of Fortune decide to emulate AC Black Flag of all things when it comes to naval battles. It worked in Black Flag because that's a single player game, but when I play a sandbox survival adventure, I want to participate. I want to be the one who loads the cannons and does the sails and drops the anchor, and I want to do that side by side with my friends, basically just like in Sea of Thieves, but in a survival sandbox. The fact that we finally have proper ships and the fact that we have so much freedom building on and customizing them is really cool, but it stops being cool when you realize that it is the only way to play in this biome on this map. Before I bought Brandon the DLC, he was not able to interact with either the shipyard nor the boat, and as you saw in the beginning, traversing the ocean on a raft is basically impossible. As much as the content on offer is really fun, making it the only way to play a massive chunk of a mainline story map just feels insanely greedy to me. And that's also kind of the crux here. You're paying $20 to efficiently play one part of the Genesis simulation. So even judged on its own merit, I feel like I just don't really get that much for my money. At the time of recording, the Steam Summer Sale is running. You know what I could get for the price of Tides of Fortune? Red Dead Redemption 2, Outer Wilds, bloody Hollow Knight Silksong, or even a moderate amount of energy in Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not saying you can't have fun with this DLC, but I feel like who this is for is very, very clear. If you love ARK, you're gonna get this one way or another, just like I did. But if you are at all on the fence about picking it up, I cannot in good conscience recommend that this is where you should spend your money. What I can recommend, however, is that you should check out the 100 Days Rowboat Only challenge I did a little while ago, or if more ASA content is your thing, what about you begin your binge with our playthrough of The Island? You can find the cards on screen right now. But until then, thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you guys have a day filled with riches on the sea. And until next time, peace.